All right, guys. Finally, we are. I think we are live. We are on. Sorry for the slight delay. That we had a few technical issues as usual. That when you go live, these things can happen. I hope you will accept our apologies and also that I keep hearing echo. Hopefully that will go off and that it will get better. Anyway, it's the first time we are featuring Yasiru. Welcome to the show,
Hi.
mate.
Yeah, it's my
And
absolute pleasure to join with you guys today.
yeah, I know you're an aspiring commentator. That I saw you doing some work during Asia Cup and giving live updates. And I think you did the hardest part. When you as a commentator that you are doing a pre-match uh, build up. That's like that's for anyone to sort of predict the what's the game plan, what's the to predict what's the outcome. Then that's the hardest part. I think what we are going to do, Ricky, doing the aftermath is easier. That things have happened and it's easier to discuss that. That this is like what has already happened, unlike doing it before a game. Well done, Yasiru. Wish you all the very best in your future endeavors. And good to
Thank
have
you very
Bilal and
much.
Ricky. Good to have Bilal and Ricky on the show. As we speak, there's a interesting game happening in Lucknow right now. We are to take Australia on in our next game. We'll go to our maestro Ricky. First up, Ricky, what do you think, mate? What's on the card for Aussies? Will there be another win for South Africa? It's going to be an uphill task with 2 wickets down already. What are your thoughts?
Yes, and doesn't seem to well, good evening to you, Charith, Bilal, and Yasiru, and all the listeners who are joining us on this show as well. Welcome to all of them. It's an interesting game, I feel, Charith, at the moment, and this Lucknow wicket is, I think, a bit different to what we have seen so far in Delhi or some of the other venues where the game has been high scoring. And the run getting has been quite easy for most of the batters. Even though teams have lost sometimes by big margin, still they've got very big scores of goal. So this wicket seems to be a bit different. I just feel there is something for the bowlers on the surface. And for me personally, I think that's what I like to see because records have been tumbling in every match. Individual record big goals, each and every batsman that out there is getting hundreds of fifties, sixers are getting, and I love to see something for the bowlers as well, and a good contest between batter and bowler that will make things more interesting and also within the I just feel so. Yes, it's going to be a good chase, interesting chase now. A lot depends, I think, on Steven Smith for Australia.
All right, that's as we speak. I think they have moved on. Oh, another wicket has just fallen. Let's see who's got out. Steve Smith's gone. So it's going to be an uphill task. That I think it's just now as we speak. And so Aussies, I think, has got a challenge in their hands. Yasiru, what are your thoughts, mate? How will the Aussies go? It's going to be, I think it's going to be a challenge at this point. What are your thoughts?
Definitely, yes. Definitely, yes. I think they have changed with the pitches as well because if we go towards the earlier stages of the game, I mean, the series actually, the pitches were very batter friendly, but now we can experience that the pitches are getting bit fair. I mean, like it should be fair since with the batters and bowlers point of view, it should be fair. If not, it will be just one-way traffic. So definitely, and also like I watched the earlier stage. I mean, in the Aussies, how they battled and all. I think South Africans are maintaining a very good line and length. So it will be absolutely challenging for the batting side.
Yeah, there are interesting thoughts, but you're saying about the wickets are evening out, but still 300 and 300 what 313 or whatever. I think that's a good score on that. It's a slowish pitch. I think that the South Africa did pretty well. Interesting call. I think Aussies won the toss, put the South Africa in. Probably it can be very crucial. It could be a mistake. I don't know if Aussies don't get it. However, the conditions are favorable, but that I don't know. To me, to me, I have a very simple philosophy. Ricky, correct me if I'm wrong. Like the similar to the Aussies, they are thinking, win the toss. If the conditions are okay, satisfactory, bat first. Regardless what's going to happen second in a World Cup scenario, runs on the scoreboard and put the other side under pressure, and that's how it goes. And so this toss can be crucial. Maybe Aussies made the wrong call, and they may end up in the losing side. All that is yet to be seen. Okay, now getting back to Sri Lanka. People have been asking many questions after the Pakistani game. Bilal had very interesting thoughts about the match. Bilal, you as a what can I say, that as a critic, that you've been. I mean, when I say critic, you don't criticize unnecessarily. You always have a valid point when you say something, and you had different thoughts about the two games we lost to. First to South Africa, which they look phenomenal at the moment. They look a very strong outfit, and then to Pakistan. But to all the listeners who are listening out there, Ricky, all I'm going to say, being disappointed, losing, are you guys really surprised that we lost these two games? And once you consider the fact that we qualified to play we had to play the qualifiers before qualifying for the World Cup. So factually speaking, we are only little above an associate team along with Holland. So all the other teams are highly ranked above us. They have already qualified for the World Cup. So to losing to one of those sides who are ranked above you, I don't think it's a surprise. I think the surprise would have been if we managed to beat any of these teams. I think in our last conversation, Ricky said that the first four games are going to be very, very crucial. That to set the pace. Now we are already 2 down, and we are taking Aussies on in a few days' time. Bilal, what do you think, mate? Realistically, you as a high performance coach and a close follower of cricket, what are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, Charith. So I think Ricky and I both mentioned it on your last show that while we'd like to be optimistic, we'd also like to be realistic.
Realistic, yep.
But I think most people did not expect such a battering against South Africa. I think it took everyone aback by 400 odd runs. And the other thing is, I think what really shocked them is, I think when we got 345 runs, that everyone thought job done. We are again on our way for a win. And I think you posted it on your FB. I think that was a very valid point. Our bowling is looking really weak, so sometimes even 400 runs might not be enough. So personally, of course, I was not surprised that we lost, because even while watching Pakistan bat in the first innings and in the position we were in, and how easy it seemed for batting, I felt we were like about 30-40 runs short. And there was also just one point of concern. Again, I like to talk more about the sort of nuances of sport, because I'm no cricket expert. We scored, I think, only 60 odd runs in that last 10 overs. I just felt like the body language in the dressing room, when you're looking at those last 2-3 overs, that was a big giveaway for me. I think when Matisha Patirana was into bat, he was really struggling playing Shaheen Afridi. And then there was a bit of a camera angle zooming into our assistant coach Naveed Nawaz and a few of the other players in the dugout. And he was really struggling, getting a battering on his elbow and shoulder, and they just seemed to be having a laugh about it. So that sort of gave me a bit of an impression that they felt they had got enough. They had seemed a very relaxed atmosphere in the dressing room, and it was sort of like a pressure release, because they've been under the gun for so long. And sometimes, particularly Charith, with even my experience coaching rugby, with inexperienced teams, soon as the body language of the coaching staff seems very relaxed, it rubs off on the players as well. And when you're too relaxed, you're not going to play to your potential. You're not basically on top of your game, because you think job is already done halfway through the game. And I just got those vibes looking at the dressing room, looking at the just. I mean, it might be a little unfair to critique it too much, but I just got those vibes that despite us falling short of 30, 40 runs, the dressing room looked a very relaxed atmosphere, like those last 2, 3 overs. Like they just seemed to be having a good laugh, and Matisha Patrino was really struggling out there, and they seemed fine with 345 runs. To me, that was a real concerning point when I was even watching the game during the middle of the inning. And I think it clearly showed. Yet I think 30, 40 runs more. I know you said 400 runs even might not be enough, yet it would have been a little added pressure on Pakistan. So that was just the disappointing factor about the Pakistan game. And of course, obviously, there are so many other cricketing factors. Uh, of course, you know my thoughts on that. Like, I think the Asuna game really slowed it down to of 18 balls. And again, there's another concerning point for me is Kusal Mendis, who batted brilliantly. And everyone is talking about that he was careless throwing his wicket away. But that was how he batted throughout the innings. He scores 100 plus runs, and that's how he got those 100 runs. Maybe he should have been a little more careful, but he did a fairly good job. But why are people not critiquing the people who are not performing? To me, it is amazing.
Interesting, mate. The reason why I have you in this program, because you see the game in a different angle than than the way we see the game. That what you said, what transpired in the dugout. It's probably a little bit of relax kind of the expressions in the. You send the wrong signal to the players. That they probably they thought
body
that.
Language, yeah, sorry, I didn't use the correct word. It's a body language. Just the body language give it away like they had won the game. When it was almost halfway during the game. And it rub, and that sort of body language of the coaches rubs off on a particularly inexperienced team.
Interesting point. And what you say is, I mean, and I saw people having a go at Kusal Mendis for throwing away. I think he had 2 consecutive sixers back to back, and he went for the third, and unfortunately he was caught on the line. Brilliant catch. There were a lot of controversy about the catch that was taken. That some felt that that the boundary lines were pushed, but I don't think that was the case. And I think that was a line, just to clarify, because it's one of the questions that was asked by me by so many people. I think that was the earlier boundary line that was drawn, but I don't think that was taken into consideration. And the boundary line was that those runners, those advertising boards that was along the ground, and I don't think that was pushed. So I don't think there was any controversy about the catch being clean. Ricky, by the way, I think it's your mic that is playing up. When I muted your mic, I think the echo went off. Just see whether you could talk. Probably you just talk straight into your computer mic and see whether it works, mate. We can try it out. Yasiru, what do you think of what Bilal said about the body language in the dugout, mate? What are your thoughts?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, I have certain thoughts. I mean, I actually agree with Bilal because it has been a while where Sri Lankans take the games very easily. I mean, like if they have a very comfortable or else a big total on the scorecard on the board, definitely they'll take it very easily. And also after every good performance, they will take the next game very lightly. So if we take India, so I like to drag India because till the very last delivery to be bowled, they'll stay always in the game itself. The coaching staff, to the supporting staff, to the players, especially players like Virat Kohli, the energy, the enthusiasm, and that aggression, they always keep it up. And also, like even if the ball is, even if a loose delivery is being fired, or else like if a good ball has been fired to a boundary or a six, the body language, nobody will laugh, nobody will take it for fun, because like simply all the players, all the 11 players who are inside the rope, they will try to give their fullest. So, but I actually don't see that from the Sri Lankan camp. And also, definitely, we have to point our fingers at the coaching staff as well. Since, Charith, you have stayed with the team, and we have seen how strict you are. I mean, like inside and out. So, I feel with numerous issues that Sri Lankans have been facing, with disciplinary action to so many other stuff. I mean, our guys are taking all the things so lightly. And also, so like I'm really, I mean, like 100% I am agreeing with Bilal. I mean, definitely that environment, the inside environment should be made, because like it's not a joke. Because end of the day, you are representing your country, and you are representing millions of people. So definitely they need to have the responsibility. So I guess that's a big loophole that we have. I have seen. I mean, like even if because Matish had a very tough game, tough two games actually to be precise, but still like it's just fun because like some guys were laughing like they were taking it so lightly. So I think it's not the proper way. It's not a proper approach to come into a big series like this. I mean, like to a big tournament like the World Cup. So that's a serious concern as well. And also, especially, I need to add some thoughts about Kusal Mendis's dismissal as well. If you guys noticed, he started to get some cramps in his tummy. I mean, it should be in abs or somewhere like that. So I think his concern was to get some runs as soon as possible. So I think that was the intention. So like if we are just pinpointing, okay, Kusal Mendis was so reckless and he just threw away his wicket. So I think that's not fair from himself because he already made a ton. And definitely, if I'm not mistaken, when he was in his 90s, he started to just to touch over his, I mean, near his rib cage. I think there was some sort of an issue. So I think he thought, okay, look, I'm just feeling unfit, so better I give my fullest to the team, and I'll see afterwards. So, but the problem is by the 27th over, we had 200 runs on our scorecard. So afterwards, it was quite disappointing. Sri Lanka getting about a good 45-50 runs short where we should be have. So I think that was a kind of a concern, and we need to address it. I mean, the momentum should be carried on.
Well said, mate. Ricky, I'm going to put your mic on again. I think definitely it is your mic that is clashing that makes an echo. Anyway, what are your thoughts, Ricky, on the body language? And actually, I didn't realize, Yasiru, excellent point that you made. Kusal Mendis did not take the field. Bilal, probably, you will say that, obviously he would have had some fitness issues. The fact is, I think I knew it, that when the guy batted for 158 in the warm-up, when he should have come off, he didn't come off. So he had to bat longer than one expected because we knew that we have problems with our middle order, that we would not bat the 50 overs. So therefore, Kusal was forced to bat on till the 30th. Then he went on to get a 100, and then he followed up with another big score. So there's a limit the body can take, the extreme heat. I didn't realize that he was cramping, and then he didn't keep wickets after that. That's a concern. Ricky, your thoughts on that, mate? Very quickly before we talk about Dasun, it's another question that was frequently asked. Again, Aruna, it's nice to have you guys, Aruna and Riza, on the show, and few others who are watching. And thank you very much for being here. We'll move on to Dasun's not bowling, his bowling, his number, the quota. Ricky, your thoughts on the matter, mate, about the body language and Kusal's dismissal?
Charith, yes, I agree with Bilal and Yasiru. Definitely that, you can't blame Kusal for getting out at that time. He had already done his job. He had set the platform. And you have to keep going the way you are batted right throughout that innings. And even during that innings, there was a couple of chances because he rode his luck. He took his chances. There were a couple of chances that could have gone Pakistan's way as well. But he went
absolutely,
set the platform for us. And I agree with Bilal when you say that, yes, we were definitely, I think, 30 to 40 runs short. We should have got to 275, 375 to 380 quite easily. But like you also said, even 400 will not be safe with our bowling attack. Just going back to the two games and what we discussed in the earlier show, Charith, I was very surprised in the first game that Sri Lanka won the toss and elected to field first. Because I don't know what they were thinking. Were they thinking that they can blow out South Africa for 50? Definitely not. So, it was a bit of surprise. We all agreed that, scoreboard pressure is the only way that we could probably push, maybe not win, but at least push the opposition. And we saw that in that second game. Runs on the board. If we got a little bit more, maybe it would have gone stretched to Pakistan a bit more. We never know. But yes, certainly I think the best way forward for Sri Lanka is runs on the board, scoreboard pressure, and try to see how we could strangle the opposition. But also another point I made in that conversation we had the other day was our attacking options between the 10th over to the 40th over. We don't have any attacking options. We don't have attacking wicket takers. We saw that we did quite well against Pakistan in the first 10 overs, I thought, with the new ball. But after that, we didn't have options to get wickets, to get breakthroughs. And I thought that's where we really missed the services of Hasaranga, who probably was the only one who could have got us a couple of wickets. And we didn't have that option. So if you take a look at the way the teams are going, they're really attacking from the 10 to the 40th over because of the field restrictions. Just 4 fielders outside that inner circle. One, so they are going for it. And Bilal made a valuable point where we lost 60 odd runs. We scored only 60 odd runs in the last 10 overs. Even England versus Bangladesh the other day, they scored 70 odd runs, and they lost 7 wickets, I think, in the last 10 overs versus Bangladesh as well. So if you analyze the games that have been played, teams have scored a bit less in the last 10 overs, but they have scored a lot more between the 10th and the 40th over, which is making a huge difference. And if you don't have proper quality bowlers who can pick up wickets, who can put on the brakes in those middle overs, you're going to really pay for it. And I think that's where Sri Lanka is really paying for it at the moment, because they don't have the resources. I think they depended a lot on young Matisha Pathiran. They depended too much on young Matisha Pathiran. Probably they would thought that he is the strike bowler that could get us wickets in the middle overs. But that is not happening, and you have to be fair for him. You had mentioned in a post that he's not even played a full season of first-class cricket, which is very true. He's straight out of the under-19s. And when I actually won't blame the boy or criticize him at this moment. When he was selected, in fact, to play ODI cricket a few months ago, I was really surprised because I thought he was not ready. In a 2020 over game with set plans, with good fielding plans, a good captain in a T20 game to bowl 4 overs, yes, he will do you the job. But to bowl 10 overs in the power plays with the new ball, come back in the middle overs, bowl in to a plan, then come back in the death, and restrict the opposition, gets wickets. I think he's asking just too much from him with his inexperience, with his not played any much first class cricket. He hasn't bowled long spells at all in his career so far. So, you could see when we really needed it the other day in that Pakistan game, I thought there was some good overs from Bilal again at one end where he was just giving 4 runs, 5 runs, 6 runs. But at the other end, the runs were leaking because Matisha Pathiran, unfortunately, cannot bowl 6 deliveries in one spot. He's unable to do that. He's bowling both sides of the wicket. The field is set on the onside. He's bowling outside the off stump. So it's really difficult with those field restrictions as well. They're going for a lot of runs, and I thought, even if we got 380 or 400, we might found it difficult on those good surfaces. So that's where I feel, I don't know how the next game will go against Australia at Lucknow. Will we get the same surface or not? But if we get a similar side of surface what we have seen today, I think Sri Lanka will have, a much better chance on this side of a surface than, that the surfaces that are good for batting, because we just do not have the bowling. We do not have the experience, to really stop these quality batters from the opposition. So we need a surface that is, probably low, slow, will take some turn, will be hard to bat on. That's our best chance, I feel, going forward.
Interesting thing, Ricky. Just to that you raised the question. You simply can't get your head around why Sri Lanka won the toss and put South Africa to bat. I think, this is my opinion. I think, it was purely what transpired the previous day, how the New Zealanders chased the score down, batting second. So that probably would have prompted our guys to think the conditions in the afternoon going to be better than in the morning. So I think that prompted us to bat first. And what you're saying, that why Sanjeev says, I think Sanjeev was also, one of those guys felt that I think it is become like, it's a trend right now. You mentioned the fact that, I think Yasiru mentioned the fact that the most number of runs are scored from 10 to the 40th because of the field the field restrictions. Only 4 fielders are allowed, and then the field is spread in the 50th over, and the way the fast bowlers come back and bang the ball halfway down the wicket. Even today, I think South Africa were cruising 266 for 3, if I'm not mistaken, at the end of the 40th, and they pulled it back. They got literally they got about 50-60 runs in the last 10 overs and lost a number of wickets. I think it's becoming a pattern now. Yasiru was, I think, spot on. You got to plan yourself, as Ricky said. I think your most number of runs have to come in the middle overs, thinking that the bowlers will pull back in the last 10 overs, and as you rightly said, that it doesn't, regardless what happens, that in the future we might have to have a plans like win the toss, we bat, and try and defend the score. I think, Ricky, I agree with you there, and it has to be the only way out, because we can't put the other sides in and try and that if they get 400 they will bat us out of the match, and then there's no coming back. So that's the way forward. But as Sanjeev says, well, everybody thought that 340 was insufficient, that we are, Bilal, you also can that people thought that we are short of probably 30-40 runs. The fact is Pakistan cruised, that they lost only 3 wickets, and then they had two overs in hand. So the point is, it's not, I think they created history by chasing down the highest total, chasing down 340 runs in the World Cup. How much more do people expect our guys to score? I think we were lucky to get that 340. And Kusal Mendes, nobody, as Ricky said, no one asked the question, what would have happened if, the Pakistanis took those 2 catches? The first up, I think Kusal was only on 12 when he was first dropped. And then again, he was on the 19, or I think below 20, the 2 chances. He went on to get 100, but Sadir, I think, batted out of his depth. It's an unbelievable inning. Ricky, that's, I think, you would rate that, perhaps one of the best innings I have seen in a one day tournament. How well Sadir batted. Overall, I think that that we were lucky to get 340, and we really batted well, despite the fact that the openers did not. One of the openers failed, and in the middle order did not perform to expectations. Fact is, we got 340, yet we couldn't defend, and that's the way it's going to be. And Bilal, bringing you that at the all three of you boys, this is your show. You're going to talk. I'm going to ask the way Kusal KJP is struggling at the top of the batting order. We all know that he's coming after injury, and he was wrapped in nice for a long time. He looks rusty, and actually when he could have batted in that warm-up game, he did not bat, and he struggled against South Africa. I think the little I saw at the start, that the first 7 balls, they didn't hit his bat. It just whizzed past the bat. He struggled to get bat on ball, and I think same thing happens to Pakistan. My question to you, Bilal, you said this the other day. What are your thoughts playing a guy who is perhaps 60-70% fit than a guy who is 100% fit? Do you, because some people, I was talking to some people today, they thought you probably, now for an example, I'm saying if you had we'll talk about it, if you had Hasaranga, 80% Hasaranga, would you play him over a guy who is perhaps 100% fit? What are your thoughts, Bilal?
Yeah, I think if it was, say, Hasaranga or even Kusal Mendes in his current form, 80% Kusal Mendes or Hasaranga will still definitely have a big contribution with the team. I think the concern was Hasaranga would have probably not even beat 50%. So maybe that's why he was left out. So I think, yeah, definitely to answer your question, Charith, yeah, I mean, it depends on the player, right? So, I mean, if you have those X-factor players like Kusal Mendes, Hasaranga, who even at their 80% can deliver, you would have them. But of course, I mean, there are some players who really need to be at their best to even make a decent contribution. So those players, obviously, it's better leaving them out. That's just my take on it.
Well said. What are your thoughts, boys? Ricky and Yasiru, you would still what about KJP? Does that his current form, is that a concern for you boys?
For me, of course, yes, because Charith, since opening spot has been always a concern, always a worry for Sri Lanka. So, I think if a player is representing the country, definitely he needs to be definitely fit. I mean, 100% fit. If I'm not mistaken, sir, if we take India, once when while MS Dhoni was the captain, straight away he wanted Virendra Sehwag to be stay out because he was sloppy and he was not fit and he was not up to the stage. I mean, like at that point, Virendra Sehwag was having a very good wickets and also the sloppiness in the field made him to straight away complain with the selectors and to straight away take Sehwag out of the team. So, like, I think that should be the ideology in any team. I mean, like, if you are representing your country and you are a professional cricketer, definitely you need to stay fit. And it was quite surprising, as Charith said, KJP didn't come to bat even in the practice matches. So, like, it was quite a surprising fact, and also like we can see coming into the actual game, how he's struggling. So it's quite of a big worry, or like we are just carrying some unwanted baggage, I guess.
All right, Ricky, what are your thoughts, mate? Would you play KJP in the next game against Aussies?
Yes, I think they'll probably give him another game and hope for the best. Charith, because way things are going, I think there is a bit of cushion because the likes of Mendes, Hasaranga, and Pathum Nisanka is scoring runs at the moment. I'm not too sure if they will go with Karunaratne as well because the games have been high scoring and they want aggressive start, runs at the top, and the runs coming quickly. So probably, I mean, as he's already selected in this squad, so the damage is done even if he's not. But I hope he's fully fit. For me, I hope he's fully fit, and it's just that he's out of form because he's not played a lot of cricket and he has not got runs behind his back. I hope that is the main reason. But if he's not really fit, then probably they have a choice of going with Dimut Karunaratne. But this is where the composition of our squad lies. I think now we have very little things we could do. But I think when the squad was picked, they should have looked at the flexibility of the batting positions as well. And if Kusal was not fully fit, what are we going to do? They should have thought of that. Look at like Yasiru has mentioned in India. India have players that you could play in the middle order. You could open the innings for the likes of Kishan. They feel he's opening because Shubman Gill is not there. But if they want him, they can bat him in the middle order. They have KL Rahul who could come up the order and open. So they have flexibility. And unfortunately, we don't have much of that flexibility in the innings because Dimut Karunaratne is unable to bat in the middle order as well. And so it's a big problem. I would go probably with another game with Kusal Janit Peura and hope he comes good for Sri Lanka's sake. But if he fails, then they'll have to really consider it. But also another thing we miss, we have been talking even in the last discussion about Hasaranga, the bowler. We are missing Hasaranga, the batter as well. I think a big time. In that last game, if Hasaranga, the batter, was there coming in at number 7, number 8, probably that little bit of 30-40 runs we are looking at might have come as well. And when he's out there, I think it's releasing that bit of pressure on Dasun Shanak as well down the order. So I think it would have made a huge difference in our batting. And when he's there as that all-rounder, bowling all-rounder, but who definitely can contribute with the bat, there is a bit of flexibility. You could play around with the batting. They always had the chance probably of leaving DDS out of the side, strengthening our bowling attack, which is now really weak. But without Hasaranga, we are unable to do that because we need the cushion of the batting. But our bowling is weak as well. So overall, I feel Charith, the composition of the squad, I don't know how the selectors go. Probably 1-to-1. They select a leg spinner is out. They bring in a leg spinner in. A fast bowler is out. They bring in a fast bowler in. But I think like when you select a squad for the franchise, for example, IPL, where you have to fit in 4 foreign players, the rest have to be domestic players. You think of the composition of the team. So I think Sri Lanka have not thought of the composition of this squad, or they are playing 11. So now they have very limited flexibility. I sometimes feel sad that Charmik Karunaratne has to sit on the reserves. I think he would have played a big role, especially without Hasaranga in the side. His ability as an all-rounder would have given us a lot of flexibility.
The reason I think they've kept Charmika Karunaratne out on the bench is so that'll also be less pressure on Dasun Shanaka probably.
There we go. That the Bilal's true love for Dasun Chanaka shows. Like the two questions, Ricky. Supposing, I'm just asking. Supposing, like if Hasaranga was fit, would he have played, all three? Where would Velalage? Would you go with Tikshana, Hasaranga, and Velalage? Would you have played all three?
Probably they would have started off with Hasaranga and Tikshana. Probably Vella would have to sit out. But if they always needed, I feel, because I don't think I think they went into this World Cup depending a lot on Dhananjay DDS's bowling as well. But on these good tracks, it's not working out. It's not working out at all so far in the two games we have played. So they depended a lot on DDS. So probably if that was not working out, if Hasaranga's batting was there, we had Dasun Shanaka, we had Vanidu Hasaranga, Vellalage, three all-rounders that could have probably covered up for DDS in the batting department down the order, and we could have strengthened our bowling. But now we don't have those options. That's what I feel, and that's why I said earlier. I just hope that we will get this sort of a track where we have in today's game for our next game as well, so that we could get more overs from Dhananjay De Silva, Charith Asalanka, which would help our cause. Today, Glenn Maxwell bowled is 10 overs for 30 odd runs. So if Glenn Maxwell can do that, I think Dhananjay De Silva definitely can do that. So I just hope we get a surface that will just suit our players for the next game.
Inshallah, mate. Let's hope and pray that that leads us to the all important question that Aruna raised. What did he ask? Right? Dasun not bowling his quota. All right, gentlemen. What are your thoughts? There's a big topic. This is, why didn't Dasun? He bowled his 5 overs for 28 runs, and when the others were going at the rate of, almost, 9 to 10 runs average per over. Why didn't Dasun Chanaka bowl his overs? Okay, I know the reason why he did not bowl. I would like to ask you gentlemen what your thoughts are. Bilal, what do you think, mate? You think, that he could have bowled more number of overs?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely right, Charith. So again, right, like I always say, I'm no cricket expert, but it is sad, right? It's not like having a go at him, but the truth is, right, I think if you look at the games closely over the last 18 months, right, Dasun Shanaka is under so much pressure to keep his place in the team. He needs to justify the stats, right? He's bowling 5 overs for 28 runs. Right, and then you're having a 20-year-old who's going for 10 plus runs in an over. I mean, I think it just meets common sense that he was the only option to come in and, try a few things and change things up and, basically bring the run rate down. But again, my gut feeling is he was also worried that he was going to get bashed for 10 runs as well. And then he just continued bowling Matisha Patirana, who was anyway getting thrashed. So to me, that is very, very concerning. Like even when he bowls 5 overs, he just feels that is his job done. Why are the days when he's bowling well, he's not continuing to bowl? Is it that fear factor? And if you look at it, it's like if you really scrutinize our cricket over the last 2 years, probably when other bowlers get bashed around, they get bought in back for a second spell to try to make a comeback. But Dasun, it's either he bowls a good short spell, takes himself out and never come back. He's never bowled 10 overs in a one-day game, despite being an all-rounder. Secondly, if he gets bashed around, he pulls himself out of the attack very quickly and never comes back for the second spell. So those are all just big indicators of a player captain very, very low on confidence, who is worried about his place, as well as worried about the performance of his team. And when you're having a captain under so much pressure, I'm sure the decision-making process is also very clouded. So really, really huge points for Qatar. But that my answer to your question about the 5 overs, yeah, I just feel it's playing it very, very safe.
Well said, Bilal. Yasiru, what are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I also think that the pressure factor was working in his mind for definitely. I mean, like he have been trashing. He simply get trashed over social media to normal conversations, to discussions, to international commentators. So many people are just after him. So we need to understand that Dasun Shanak also, end of the day, he's also a human being and he's feeling this pressure factor. So like he's getting carried off with this pressure factor as well. And also more than Dasun Shanak not bowling his 5 overs, my concern was how we use Matisha Patrana, because like we saw so many fingers pointed out, and some people were justifying as he's an amateur and like he's still a 20-year-old. So many things, but the fact that we need to understand is like he's representing the country. So like we can't come up with lame excuses as he's a 20-year-old and he's not experienced and all, because the selectors are having, I mean, they had the faith on Matisha Patrana. And also, like, let's not forget, Matisha was performing so well with the IPL under MS Dhoni, and like I think the pressure factor was like it's so high. But the fact is how they managed and how they actually managed Matisha Patrana and his performance. How I mean, like it was a very I mean, they had that feeling and they absolutely read Matisha Patrana. But we saw straight away Matisha is going for long spells. So personally, I feel when we are using Matisha Padirana, we always have to give him very short spells. So if not, I mean, like from the technical perspective, he is having this lingish action. So like anyhow, the batter will be he will be always in two minds. So if Matisha goes on for a longer spell, definitely the batters will get used to. I mean, after about 2.5 overs, yeah, they will get used to this bowler. But the biggest concern that I saw is like he was given considerably lengthy spells. And also another part is like if Matisha Patirana can or if he could perform well in the IPL, why not with Sri Lanka? So is it the problem with the boy or is it the problem with the coaching staff or the captain? So it was a worrying part for from my perspective as well. And also coming into Shanaka, of course, yes, I have to agree with Bilal because he is under a tremendous amount of pressure. So I think because of this pressure, he's not having that self-confidence where he can come and straight away deliver himself. So like I think that should be the reason behind Dasun Chanaka's performing, and also like why he's not using the entire 10 overs.
Yeah, Yasiru, but didn't MS Dhoni mention the fact that that I, as far as I can remember, didn't he say that I hope and pray that that boy will not be used in any other format right now? That we are talking about IPL. It's a 4-over game against in a 50-over format, which is 50 overs. Where a bowler is expected to bowl 6 extra overs. Then I think we rushed him, and we are playing. And as Vicky at the start, very correctly said that we thought that that X factor would matter, but on those tracks, it looks it's not the pace that matters. It's the variation, what the bowler can bring on the day. That's one of the reasons why top fast bowlers pulling the scores back from the 40th to the 50th over with their variations and the skill, absolute skill, they are pulling it back, and it's a pleasure to watch banging that ball halfway down the wicket, not giving batters room to score freely, taking wickets, and those are innovations, and which is suited to those Indian conditions. It's very, 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 very interesting factors. I think, having said that, Ricky, your thoughts, before I give my thoughts why Dasun did not bowl, what are your thoughts that you reckon that Dasun could have bowled a couple more overs, or as Sanji says, what would have happened if he bowled another over and went for 20 runs?
Yes, it's a give or take situation. I feel Charith. I don't know. Before that game, he was carrying injury as well. We don't know if there is some restrictions. Does he have some pain while bowling? We don't know if that's hampering
You're
him as
right.
well.
Yeah,
But what happens is
absolutely.
also I feel as a part-time bowler, you bowl 4 or 5 bowlers, and then you're looking for that breakthrough. You're looking to get rid of Rizwan and Shafiq and try to get a wicket. So you always will back your main bowlers to get you a wicket. That's why they are in the team, isn't it? So it goes back again, when Sri Lanka selected the squad, did they think Vellalage, Matisha Patirana, and young Madhushanka, three inexperienced bowlers, can do the job in this World Cup? When Dushmantha Chamira and
You tell
Hasaranga
me,
were
mate.
out, when they were out, Dushmantha Chamira and Hasaranga, no, I think they should have done a bit more. And we needed, you could have one newcomer, one fresher, one talented guy, maybe two, but all three of them are really young, and you're expecting them to lead the attack against the mighty Indians, South Africans, or Australians on this good service. And like you mentioned, they didn't have the skill. When it comes to those death overs, Matisha Patirana, he's not a Lasit Malinga. He didn't really have the skill or the experience to use that skill. Madhushanka too, he's very good with the new ball, but once the ball gets older, he doesn't really have those variations to contain. Forget wicket taking abilities to contain the batters. You bowl stump to stump, set the field, and try to contain the batter. We saw how Mitchell Starc did that today in the last few overs against the mighty South Africans, against the likes of Miller. So we didn't have the skill to come back. All these bowlers in this World Cup have got a hammer in somewhere. 2-3 overs they are getting a hammer in. But the good bowlers have found a way to come back. Drag things back, get a wicket or two, and fight their way in. And that's where Sri Lanka failed. Those bowlers do not have the experience or the skill as yet. Probably in the next World Cup, Matisha Patirana, Madhushanka will be great. They will, probably win Sri Lanka World Cup. We never know. But at the moment, they are still not up to that standard. So yes, it's sad that we have to blame them. People are scolding them. Probably they tried their best, but they were not good enough on the day. And for me, I will definitely leave out Matisha Patirana for the next game, because already his confidence is dented. He's gone for 90 odd runs in both the games, so his confidence is dented, and Sri Lanka will have to think differently, bring in another bowler, Kaspan Raj at the back, or Lahiru Kumar. I don't know what the changes they're going to make, but they have to leave Matisha Patiran out for the next game and think differently. So Darshan Shanaka not bowling. Probably, he went with instinct. Charith as a captain, I want the wickets. I'm going to my regular bowlers who I think who will get me the wicket. He would have gone that way. Probably that injury concern, you never know what his thoughts for you have to feel for him as well. Sometimes when he bowls his overs and he gets a hammer in, people question, why did he bowl one too many overs? He should have just bowled 4 overs. Why did he bowl the 5th and go for 20 runs like you mentioned? When he doesn't bowl, people question that. So I think it's an instinctive decision which at that moment he would have taken on the field.
Yeah, true. Okay, let me very quickly. I have two things. Why having got Lahiru Kumar sitting, on the bench, why wasn't he played? Or why is he, he has more experience than the young Patirana? I don't know. Those are questions. They do go with 3 rookies. Why is Lahiru Kumar in the team? If he's not going to bowl, those are questions you need to ask. I think my view is, as a former administrator and as a coach, Dasun Chanaka is the 6th bowler in the 5th or the 6th bowler in the squad. So we are going with 4 bowlers, and the 5th bowling option is expected to share between Dasun and probably DDS and Asalanka. So it could be 6-4, it could be 5-5. That's he's not expected to bowl 10 overs. I think but there is no hard and fast rule to say that he should not bowl 10 overs. And good example like what Pandya did yesterday. I mean, the conditions were suitable to his kind of bowling, and the Indians managed to get 7 or 8 overs of Pandya, and which he loves bowling, but they're trying to hold him back because he's an all-rounder. But if he's given an opportunity, he will take the initiative. Now that's the difference I think Bilal is talking about. Either you could play safe or you could lead from the front. To be safe, yes. We don't know whether Dasun was carrying an injury and he was recommended to bowl only 5, so that's playing safe. But of course, he had the option if he wanted to bowl 2 more and take bit of pressure off young Patirana. Could have happened. It did not happen. Having said that, hang on, there's more questions from Sanji, but I think this Aussie game is almost dust and done, guys. Aussies are 80 for 6. They had a bad day on the field. I had never seen Aussies dropping so many catches, and they made a huge decision by dropping Alex Carey and bringing, I think, English in. Let's see whether he has got any runs. I saw him dropping somebody, that while keeping wickets. No, he has got only. No, he has got. Hang on. English 5, Ball Rabada. Yeah. So right now it's 80 for 6. I think it's going to be an uphill task. I mean, you guys still feel that Aussies are going to win this game? It's Mitchell Stark. I think Aussies are going to find it really tough. I don't know who is in. Mitchell Stark is just in. Looks like another wicket is gone down. Stoinis is out. So I think curtains for Australia. That's going to be interesting. It's better. So the bad news to us is Aussies will come all guns firing with us now that they got 0 points on the board, and losing this game. I mean that will hurt their net run rate seriously, Ricky. If they lose with a massive margin.
Yes, definitely it's going to hurt them, and it will be interesting the next game. Both going into the next game are losing their first 2 matches, and both will definitely have to win. You sometimes just feel that whoever loses that game has ended their World Cup and might not really qualify, because it's going to be difficult for Australia thereafter also, because they have to play the likes of England, New Zealand, and Pakistan, which is not going to be easy for them too going forward. So the game against us, Australia, is a must-win. It's a must-win game.
All right, I know that. Okay, all right, I know. Okay, I'm going to throw a question to you guys. I know that Yasiru needs to go at 8 o'clock, and if you want to go, Yasiru, that's fine. Before you go, now that these net run rates are very, very important, Ricky, what are we going to do? Are we going to bat first or bat second? Yes. How do you look at it? Just win first and look for the net run rate. What do you guys say? Bilal, Yasiru, bat first. Bilal, what are your thoughts?
Personally,
leave it to the cricket.
Yeah, personally.
Okay, all right. Yeah, Yasiru.
Yeah, personally, I guess, Charith, we have to, since our bowling department is in shatters, right? So, we don't have much faith on our bowling department. I think, so anyhow, we are going to get trashed. So, under a situation like that, it'll always be better to put the opposition on bat. Then of course our batters will have a particular target. Then of course they can break the 50 overs, they can break the power plays, and they can simply plan how our charge or how our chase should be. So I think that will help us to win the game, as also we can have the basic calculation as how we can have the net run rate sorted. If not, if we will bat first, definitely our batters will go, but there will be definitely the risk of losing the game, as what happened with the Pakistanis. So I think it's quite harsh to say, but still we need to admit that our bowling department is not up to par. So I think it will be much more wiser to put the opposition to bat first and have the chase.
Yeah, but okay, so that, as Sanjeev says, like what happened against South Africa, you put the other side, the opponents to bat, they will bat you out of the game. So then what happens? I thought in cricket, correct me if I'm wrong, right? If you have a weaker bowling attack, right? You put the runs on the board, you apply scoreboard pressure and give your bowlers a chance. Okay, you lose, but you give a realistic chance to the bowlers to defend your total. Once the side batting first get 400 runs and bat you out of the game, it doesn't matter about your net run rate. You're out of the game. You don't have a realistic chance. I don't know what you guys think. Ricky, I don't think we have a choice here. We need to bat first and try and defend, regardless what our bowling is.
I don't think our guys will even think about a net run rate at the moment. All they want is to win a few games, first, get some points on the board. And I'm sure Australia is feeling the same right now. They want some points on the board. First, probably they'll think about the net run rates when they are playing Afghanistan or Netherlands. But in the Sri Lanka game, for them, it will be points on the board initially. And if you're just talking
we all agree. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, if you're talking about the next game, I'm sure that whoever wins the toss will bat first. Australia will not even consider batting second again at Lucknow after this performance. So looking at the surface as well. So win the toss and bat first, I think, is definitely the way to go in this next game.
Is going to be the call. I'm with you, Ricky, on that. It's a very interesting comment that is coming from Bilal to you, mate. Aussie Cricket 2 coached by Eddie Jones. Oh, that's sarcastic, mate. That's really below the belt. What happened to Aussie rugby? Everybody talks about the systems in place in Australia, how advanced the training and the structures in place, the player fitness, mate. Aussie rugby went out of, didn't even qualify if the Fijians went through. And it looks like the cricketers are struggling. What's happening, Bilal? Your favorite team, the favorite country. What's happening?
Yeah. So with regard to rugby, of course, Charith, I think what happened to Australian rugby is at least in the World Cup, is a bit of a similar scenario what happened to Sri Lanka cricket at the World Cup. But of course, Australian rugby, it was by choice. So basically, they sacked the head coach 9 months before the World Cup, and they brought in Eddie Jones, who has a brilliant record in World Cups prior to this. And what he decided is he left off a lot of senior players, taking them into this World Cup. And what they say is World Cups are not won, or even you don't perform in World Cups in any sport with inexperienced teams. He left off about 4 or 5 key players, and basically it showed. Where Sri Lanka, of course, it was basically not by choice; it was forced due to injury. So it's a similar situation there, and also why I think, if I'm talking about rugby, Charith, why Australia suffering is they probably say it is the 4th most popular winter sport in Australia. So the playing numbers are very low. It is losing popularity in Australia. So they're not breeding that level of talent they used to do 15, 20 years back, which needs serious improvements and revamping at grassroots structures. There was actually, I don't know whether you're aware of this, about 5 years ago, there was a stat put out that the rugby playing numbers in each country. And do you know that Sri Lanka has more rugby players than in Australia? So
I know that we have more cricketers in Sri Lanka than Australia. Perhaps we are second only to India, mate.
Yeah, correct. But the thing is, Australia, like, there is the interest is dwindling just because of player numbers. But just if you're talking about the World Cup with rugby, basically, I think he took a very weak team. A very inexperienced team, expecting them to do well. And all the former Wallabies, even before the World Cup, warned of this performance. But also the tendency that happens, and I think that also tends to happen a bit in any sport, is he took over from the previous coach and sort of, you want to bring in your guys sort of thing. So I think that's what exactly happened. And with Australia cricket, I think, okay, they have dominated the World Cups like no other cricket team, right? But one thing that will happen, and is regardless of how well they do in this cricket World Cup, we can be rest assured in 4 years' time, they're going to be competing again, because they will go through a full 360 review and get their act together. They have very rarely been consistently not performing. Even you look, they lost the likes of Vaughan, McGrath, Gilchrist, but they have yet gone on to win 2 World Cup states. So any team will have those cycles, but I think Australia cricket will still be in a strong position just in the long run. Maybe they are just not well prepared for this World Cup. I think a few injuries have affected them as well badly. So, but if you look at Australia, yet I think their cricket systems are very strong and in place. But Australian rugby is struggling because not enough players are playing rugby in Australia. Because cricket is the #1 summer sport in Australia. Yeah.
Yeah, you wanted to talk about, you sent me the slide about independent training, the strength performance. You just want to slightly touch upon that, how important it is, Bilal, because that's your forte, and that you are very well conversed about it. It's not very clear because it's since we are having 5 people here or 4 people, and there's a slide on, but I guess the content of the slide. If you can explain quite quickly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Charith, what I just feel is regardless of whether it happen or not, I'm not sure, and that's what will happen with Australia cricket, I'm sure, after the World Cup. They need
Yeah.
to go for a thorough 360 review in every area, independent review in every area
Yeah.
on the performance of each personnel, right? So I think personnel in Sri Lanka cricket, and this is relevant to any sport, right? For to do well in any sport, so that 50% of that pie chart in that light blue is about the skill and talent you have,
Right.
right? And then you have the other 50%, which is basically your recovery, your strength and conditioning, your nutrition and injury management. I think, like I touched on it briefly in the other show, we have, I think, the expertise, or we've hired the expertise even in those other 50%, the non-cricket 50%. We have hired those coaches or the personnel to do the job. We've got the best. So, I mean, at least, the best that's available. But the emphasis is only on the 50% yet. I think even in Sri Lanka cricket at a national level, it's more about who's going to bat at number 7, who's the all-rounders we got, but not making sure about that. The big one I always talk about is availability. Are we managing the workload and volume of our players? So, and it has come back to bite us, right? So what I would really think is Sri Lanka cricket, regardless of whether we make a miraculous comeback in the World Cup, or it just goes all haywire from here. A thorough 360 review is required in each of these segments. So I think first of all with cricket, I think there needs to be questions asked: who is accountable for this performance? Is it the coach? There's not much spoken about the coach at the moment. Is it the captain? Is it chairman of selectors? Is it Sri Lanka cricket? And these reviews need to be done by independent analysis. Then secondly, we go to our physiotherapist. It needs to be an independent physiotherapist. Maybe Kusal Gunawardhan is the person who does a
Yeah.
thorough analysis to identify the gaps and whether the physios were doing their job. Because I don't think that level of scrutiny is there on the other 50%, Charith. So like again I mentioned in the previous talk, is they get it on their CVs that they have coached Sri Lanka cricket for 2 years and they're on their way out. So, and then, I mean, they're on their way out and they get a better team. Strength and conditioning coaches, have they optimized their performances? And then nutrition, whoever is handling the nutrition. So if all those areas are, I think, thoroughly analyzed and then by experts in those areas, so Sri Lanka cricket, I think they're not short of money now. If they can hire the best independent people to analyze these performances and do a thorough 360 review, it will identify those gaps, and those glaring gaps. I think while cricket, there are definitely issues, there are gaps, but I also feel there are massive gaps in those other 50%, which is not being looked at all. Because again, you go back to it, end of the World Cup, questions are going to be asked. Okay, let's get a new coach. So again, we are looking at that 50%. Do we need a new captain? But the injury management, the nutrition, the recovery modalities, those are all just go neglected again. So we are just trying to win with the 50%. And I think if you look at it, New Zealand, definitely New Zealand. I think the team that's doing the other 50% the best at the moment is New Zealand cricket. And then it's probably teams like India, Australia, even though they're not performing in this World Cup, South Africa, they've got those other 50% in place. But we are just relying purely on talent, which is at high performance sports, you're not going to get too far.
Right. Yeah. Very interesting. I mean, it's just to add on to what you said, like, that I think Yasiru sent me a private message saying that he's had another commitment that he had to go. Thank you very much, Yasiru, for being with us. It's always good to have different thoughts. It's refreshing to hear from somebody else. Ricky, very quickly, I'm going to ask, mate, as Bilal rightly said, that our approach, we need to be after the World Cup. I think I'm sure that there will be postmortems, and there will be review meetings. I think it's already happening at Sri Lanka cricket. What happened? It's all too late, in my opinion. These are things that which you need to do before a World Cup. You don't, no point doing it after a World Cup, and you do all the the spade work, and then by the time the next World Cup, it's all the hard work you have done is forgotten. So you are back to square one. I think we need a major overhaul. Not it's just not that's the what do you call it's just not cricket alone. Our management, our domestic cricket structures, perhaps we need to look into our constitution. How many the clubs that are that they are dormant, they are not playing cricket, but how many members got the voting rights, all these have to be corrected if we are to make an impact in World Cup cricket in the future. I mean that's simple, very simple to me. It's happening. It's not only I would say it's not only cricket. I think it's it happened to rugby at the moment. Our national team can't even play under the national banner. They have to go for the Asiad under the NOC banner, which is very, very sad. Football is struggling. We are banned. And just tell me one sport that you can actually put your hand up and say yes, it is functioning. Forget sports. Show me any institution, any take the parliament, any single minister. People can actually say there are positives in this country. There's nothing as a nation. There's nothing for us to talk about, which is very, very sad. I don't know, Bilal, whether you will agree with me on that or not. We need to dig in. We need to dig deep, find answers, and if we are to come out of this, we need to definitely find answers in time to come. Otherwise, like what happened to West Indies, I think it was Sanjay who said very clearly, we'll end up like one of those associate countries, and every time we play a World Cup, we'll have to play qualifiers, and one day you'll see that we will not qualify, which will have a massive impact on our sport. And the sport will suffer at grassroots level. People will stop playing cricket, like as Bilal said, like what's happening in Australia, and literally that's the end of the sport. Sadly, that's where we are heading. So I think before we conclude this show and ask Ricky that what his thoughts are about the whole thing, I think let's hope that we'll win at least 1 or 2 games and create some upsets. To me, the biggest hurdle, Ricky, playing Holland. And I hope that if we end up losing to Holland and end up at the bottom of the table, that's going to be a very bitter pill to swallow. Hope it will not happen. Hope that we'll go as we go along, that we'll be able to beat 1 or 2 other higher ranked teams. That's my wish for the World Cup. And as Ricky said, let's hope that our boys will have a good outing against Aussies and make some changes and take some of those players whose brains are fried, and it's very unlikely that they will perform at this level. Give some, add some fresh legs into the team and see how it goes. I don't know, Ricky, what are your thoughts, mate?
Yes, certainly, Charith. We have to now. Things haven't gone our way, so we have to test the 15 players who are in the squad. That's why they are there. They are selected because they are good enough to go for the World Cup. So I just hope that even the ones who didn't play are not injured, and we have not taken injured players to the World Cup who are half fit, like Bilal said. And I hope everybody is fit and ready to go when they get a game. That is very important. That's where my biggest concern is. You mentioned Lahiru Kumar, with his experience and his skill sitting on the bench, and why wasn't he selected as the most experienced among the fast bowlers in this squad? So why didn't he play a game, which was surprising? So I hope he's fit enough to go ahead, and hope Sri Lanka, win a few games. If they really don't and they continue this poor performance, I'm definitely sure there's going to be that postmodern you were talking about. But then again, after the last World Cup too, I think we have this postmodern. Things started to happen. Bilal mentioned in the last chat where fitness was one of the criteria we looked into. We were really severe on fitness issues. But over the last 1 year or so, all that has fallen apart, and we are back to square one when the World Cup has arrived, and we have to go through the qualifying process, etc. So we have to ensure that Sri Lanka just continuously win games. That is the number one. That we don't have to play these qualifiers again, whether it's T20 or the 50 over format, and we are automatic choices into the World Cup. That is, I think, number one priority. So and one of the biggest thing is backup players. The backup players. I mean, for each and every player, you should have a backup player. We play A tours, we play emerging tours, but now at this crisis, when Shamira and Hasaranga is injured or somebody else is injured, we don't have somebody who could just come in and fill up that spot, grab that spot in any of these top nations. One player moves away, the other player comes in. That player who has been left out due to injury can't find his place back. Look, that guy who
Yeah.
replaced Ravindran, who replaced Kane Williams. Look at his two performances so far. Do we
Phenomenal.
have
Phenomenal.
anybody
Yeah.
who can do that? We don't. Look at the bench strength India has. Surya Kumar Yadav is not even got a game. So, but we don't have
True.
that. I'm not talking at that class or at that level. But somebody to come and do us the job. We don't have the backup players, and I think that is going to be the priority going in after this, from this World Cup onwards. We have to look at that. The second string has to be as good as the first string players.
Well said, mate. Bilal, what are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, Charith. So, I mean, I think there are just a few things I actually thought I'd like to mention. So, firstly, I think what Ricky mentioned about selection and having backup players. Again, I'm coming to that point about accountability, right? And I really feel also in Sri Lanka, sometimes we really need to ask even journalists. They probably need to ask cricketers, the people involved or those decision makers, the tough questions. I just want to give you a really good example. We're talking about
Yeah.
accountability, and I think I mentioned about this interview as well. 3 months ago, Pramod Wickramasinghe was interviewed on Serasati. And that interview is there on YouTube, and I think he didn't expect this sort of scenario close to World Cup. But he basically says, unlike my predecessors, I have built up a backup. We have backups for every position in the team, so we are not worried if anyone gets injured. We are ready for every single player. He has said that, it's gone on record. Okay, and 3 months down the line, we see whether there is any truth to that in the world. So would those follow-up questions be asked by journalists? You said this, you said you have set up a backup player for everyone. There's nothing to worry about, even if players get injured. I have built up backup players for those last 2 years. Are those tough questions going to be asked? I think the journalists have a big role to play, asking those sort of questions, rather than maybe questions like, oh, why isn't say, just I'm saying hypothetically, let's say, why isn't Chamika Karunaratne playing? Because those questions are for the cricket experts, because they'll have a rationale. But once you say something, where is that level of accountability? Then there was another very glaring thing he mentioned is, unlike in the past, from 2016 to 2020, he said since I took over, there is no more match fixing. A very serious accusation, but then again, nothing has come out. So where are those follow-up questions? Because except for this Sachitra's issue, what is the match fixing he's talking about? Because that has not come out in the media. So where are those tough questions being asked? Just very vague statements saying I built up a backup team, clearly exposed in this World Cup. There's no match fixing unlike the previous times. Where are those tough questions being asked? So you cannot have vague statements and people getting away. Those tough questions need to be asked. The next thing is, I also want to touch on people. I mean, I think Sri Lanka as a sporting nation, we can sometimes be very naive. Like basically the narrative was, okay, don't go too hard on Dasun Shanaka. He's a human being. Let's encourage our boys. Those sort of narratives, which is very nice, because when you're in leadership position, Charith, regardless of whether you're performing at national level, I've been a rugby coach at school level and club level. When basically you lose a game, daggers are pointed at you and they give you a real hard time. Probably. So I don't understand this naivety of, and no one is, I think, getting personal with Dasun Shanaka. They're just questioning his performances, which as sports fans they have the right to do. And I think we have in South Asia, we probably have the best fans who are very, very patient compared to India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. So I think we need to grow as well. I think the fans as a sporting nation need to grow as well, where you can ask tough questions, but it is not personal. I think everyone knows Dasun Shanaka in form is a brilliant player. But if you're not performing, it's out you go. Because, and then they go back to also the sort of history of Mavanatapattu failing in his first 3 innings, but they persisted with him. Mahela Jayawardena failed in the 2003 World Cup. But people are missing a very important point. All those players were dropped, were sent back to domestic cricket to regain their form and come back. So and now we can clearly see, and also the other questions. People were talking about how Dasun Chanaka is tactically brilliant and he keeps the team together. Are we seeing that? Or was it just one man missing? One man is where everything is being exposed. So I think these sort of tough questions really need to be asked by administrators, by journalists, by the fans, and we also need to move away from that naive mindset. No one's getting personal here. Everyone wants what's best for Sri Lanka cricket, but this sort of thing of let's not criticize the team, let's give them an encouragement is it's a very naive thinking. Are we performing this badly because everyone was giving Dasun Shanak a hard time before the World Cup? I don't think so. I think a lot of people saw this coming 6-12 months ago. So it's not about being negative, but it's also about being constructive and making sure that accountability systems are there. So at least I hope journalists post World Cup will ask chairman of selectors those tough questions. And Charith, I have one question for you, though. I'm going to bowl you a bit of a dusra.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, go ahead.
In your recollection, has any cricketer at international cricket on performance basis been given such a long run as much as Dasun Shanak in any team?
I don't think, I mean, if you really look at, to answer your question, I mean, just for an example, we just mentioned about it, Ricky, that they dropped Alex Carey. I think, up to now, he had a fairly decent run, failed 3 games, and they brought in another player. They're ruthless, mate. The Aussies, they won't, that they're horses for courses. If you're not, as you rightly said, if you're in the team to perform a job, and if you're not executing your duties, and you're not, if you are underperforming, they're not going to mollycoddle. They'll knock you out, mate. They how they'll bargain for a pound of flesh. There are no freebies where other countries are concerned. I mean, if you from a Sri Lankan point of view, probably, as you said, that our mindset is different. We are a little more flexible. That you mentioned about Marvins. Okay, it turned out to be a good decision that we persisted with Marvin. I still remember at that time. I must tell you a funny story. I think Dulip Mendis was the chief selector, and I was working with Dulip at Abe Jones, and he was going for selections. That they had a selection meeting, and we were tasting teas together. And Dulla said, mate, I can't get my head around work, this selection meeting coming up, and what are we going to do about Marwan Natapattu? Are we going to play him, or are we going to persist with Marwan or not? So I actually pleaded with Dulip, said give him another chance. The guy got potential, and probably give him another chance, he'll come good. Luckily, Marwan came good, and he became a sensation, and he delivered to. I was going to ask you boys the question. It's a very tricky scenario, that we have, whether it's regardless, right or wrong, that we made a decision. Dasun Chanaka is going to lead Sri Lanka for the World Cup, right? Now, are we going to drop our captain middle of a tournament? Can we do that? I don't know. Yes, I think you can. That's going to be a headline news. If a national team drops the captain, Ricky, can that happen? Can you drop middle of a tournament? Is it ethical to drop your captain, Bilal? You tell me, mate. Is it ethical to drop him, or do you carry him as a passenger?
Well,
the issue
Charith,
now, Charith,
just
I think there is no one to replace him. But if Tamika Karunaratne was in the makeup, that's why I was joking. He said if he was in the makeup of the 15, you got a similar player with the similar skill set to straight away substitute for that player. But now they have basically very conveniently left, like where there is no one. Basically, I think that only batsman, because then we are short of a batsman, is Dimut Karunaratne, who can't bowl. So actually now I think they have no option. They basically shot themselves in the foot by not having another backup all-rounder in that 15. So I think now we just got to deal with him and hope he comes out and plays one of those, actually not one, a few of those blinders he has done. But I'll be honest, and I hope I'm wrong. I'm not no cricket expert. I'm very skeptical because if you look at it, he's looking very low on confidence, and even as a captain, his body language is looking very poor. Even midway during that Pakistan innings, there just didn't seem that level of positivity. And I mean, I think anyone in sports can read between that lines, and bad body language can be very contagious for a team. So these are just huge points for concern. But I feel, yeah, if they had a batting all rounder or a bowling all rounder, there may have been that option. But now I think they just got to persist with him for probably all 9 games and just hope for the best.
Ricky, your thoughts, mate?
Yes, certainly. I'll go with the Bilal on that. We don't have options at all, and way things are going. We just have these 6 or 7 players that we have to stick with, and there's no options. There's not much actually flexibility now in our lineup because it's very inexperienced lineup as well. Maybe, as we said, just Lairu Kumara to come in there. Probably looking at this performance today from Australia and the wicket, I won't be surprised if the leggy Dushmanta Hemanta plays the next game. Whom will they bring him in for? Will they drop a fast bowler for the extra spinner and Dasun to share the new ball? If he's going to do that, he'll have to definitely bowl with the new ball 6 or 7 overs. I think they are very limited. Will they drop DDS for the leg spinner and weaken our batting? It's a tough question, a really tough situation because we don't have much flexibility in the squad. There isn't much quality where you could call up a player from the bench, who could come and really make an impression. So there isn't really a lot to play with going into the next game. And so the bowling.
I think, to answer Bilal's, to answer Bilal's question, I think, no worries, right? Sorry about it. There's a bit of a lag. Sorry about the lag. But Bilal, to answer your question, I think they perhaps will persist with Dasun Chanaka. Maybe for not for the right reasons, but simply because we have no other options in the squad available, and also because due to sentimental reasons, now that you have made the choice to make him the captain of your national team and you have to stick with it. I think that's how it's going to go. And let's hope and pray the guy will come good. But then you brought in another very interesting point, Bilal, that about the media. And I had a brief conversation with, I think, if you get a chance, I think people should read. But Rex Clementine has reported very interesting article, very similar to the lines that the sentiments that I expressed on Facebook a few days back. And he sent me a note from India saying, mate, all media are not biased. Sadly, Bilal, and one of the reasons that's happening, that people sometimes, people listen to every word we say, but they play it down because, 90% of the media, not all, I must say that, there are a few. We have a few individuals who are straight and, who's loyal to the profession that they're engaged in, like, people like Ricky Simms. I consider him a journalist. Still, he plays, he calls a spade, but, he's just very civil about it. He's unbiased. But the most of the people, unfortunately, on the payroll of SLC, and they will never, they will try to, to write down or, just to play down issues for their own personal gains, Bilal. I mean, this is what is happening. So the media have been bought over, and perhaps the lawyers, certain lawyers are bought over, the politicians are bought over for the people's own survival, for their own gains and personal survival. I don't know, as a country, I mentioned this, and forget cricket, where we are heading. I hope we'll get our things right. That it's important that we finish this the World Cup, because it's going to be otherwise long, agonizing. That's another how many games? Another 6 games to go. I know 7 games to go. So that's a long tournament, and otherwise all we can do is sit back and see ICC and India making tons and tons of money, and we can just contribute to the cause, and there's no other benefit. I can't see no other benefit coming out of this tournament. I hope that we'll be able to finish the tournament with without any further injuries, and just okay, let's see what Sanjeev says. Until it's confirmed, we have no chance to qualify. Must play with him. Once you made the call, you must. Yeah, I guess that's what it is. That we'd have no other options or choices left with us. So stick with what we got. Unfortunately, that's what it is, Bilal. Any other parting thoughts, mate? Again, we have spoken for almost 1.5 hours. Anything else that you like to add?
Yeah, so Charith, like I think, yeah, like I mentioned, just to wrap it up, basically, that's like my say on it. Basically, I think even the fans, journalists need to ask the right questions, and also if they have to have a go at a play, I mean, it's nothing personal, it's constructive. Like if you're put into a place as Sri Lanka captain, leadership is a very lonely place wherever you are. Like they say, winning has many fathers, and losing and is an orphan. That's the reality of sports. So I think we just got to accept that rather than being very emotional and nice, saying, "Oh, let's not hurt someone's feelings." That's the first one. The second one is, I think, also really tough questions need to be asked with regard to selection after the World Cup, because if statements like this were made that you have a backup player, they've done their job, and it's being exposed in a World Cup, that needs to be asked. And again, I come back just slightly digressing, Charit, is I remember when Asanta Dimel came back after the last World Cup, and someone asked him about Nuwan Kulasekara, which I think Nuwan Kulasekara had not been playing any cricket for 1 year, and he just replied in a very simple way. I think I saw that press conference saying, "Nuwan Kulasekara, is he still playing?" And then basically just social media just went hard at him, like for about a good 6 months, saying he didn't know who Nuwan Kulasekara and stuff. So that level of emotions and naivety, we need to move past beyond and be very constructive. So I think we need to be that, and let's just hope, like you mentioned, it might be a very long World Cup for us, but let's hope we are proven wrong, and just you have that miracle, that day where maybe Kusal Mendis, Kusal Janit Pereira, and Dasun Shanaka fire on the same day. Who knows? We may get 450. So let's hope that could be one of those days could happen, and everything turns around.
True. Final question. Thanks, Hatem. You always, you always support us during the show. You are there. Is it realistic to be optimistic? Is it realistic to be optimistic? Can we come sixth yet, Ricky?
Hoping so. Yes, hoping. I think all Sri Lankan cricket fans will be hoping, or will think that we could overcome Bangladesh, Afghanistan, and Netherlands. Uh, my biggest fear is that we may lose to one of them, which I hope not. But yeah, we could. But I was always hoping, when you look at the Sri Lanka's cricket history in World Cups, like I mentioned in the last segment we had, we always beat one or two of the top teams. We beat England when they went on to win a World Cup as well. We have done that in the past. I was hoping that, still have hope that that can happen in this World Cup as well. We might just bring a surprise on one of the two top teams, and just hoping that we will defeat the other three nations, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, and Netherlands. So yes, like Bilal said, hoping Dasun Shanaka, the last time he played Australia, he trashed Australia. Hoping he will come good in that game, and he will have a successful game against Australia. Hoping Kusal Janit Pereira will score runs, because if he doesn't, Sri Lanka are going to certainly have a lot of worries, because now we have been talking about this. They have a limited options in this squad, so the players that have selected, they have to perform. If they don't perform, they have no choice at all. They have to just keep playing the players who are non-performing, because they don't have backup strength or bench strength, flexibility in the squad. So we are just hoping that all these players, like Mendes and Pathum Nisanka, Asalanka has done so far, that KGP, Dhananjaya De Silva, even Dhananjaya De Silva. We have been talking about, Dasun Shanaka. Dhananjaya De Silva hasn't delivered in the last so many innings. For Sri Lanka, I think he got
Yeah,
190
right.
against Scotland, or somewhere in the 190, one half century against the associate nation in the qualifiers. But around that, he has not scored any runs at all for Sri Lanka. He, in the Asia Cup, on supportive conditions, he bowled well. We have to consider that, and that has kept him going because of his all-round ability, because of his fielding. But with the bat, no, he has been in very poor form. Like you mentioned, if he was playing for another country, he would have been, dropped a long time back. He would have not had his place in this lineup. So while we look at one particular player, there are others around it who have not been performing as well. So we need Dhananjaya De Silva. KGP, Dasun Shanak, all three to come good with the bat if they play the next game. And we just hope that the fast bowlers, whoever plays, will deliver on the day.
Well said, mate. Let me, guys, one final thought, before we wind up. The rate that they are going, it's very likely that India, New Zealand will qualify. Already 2 games up. So my gut feeling is halfway through the tournament that you will know who is in the semis. They will be unstoppable. Then the whole tournament may take another turn. Then you will see all the twists and turns and all the betting companies getting activated. There can be a few surprises in my view. Correct me if I'm wrong. Remember that I said this. If the 4 qualifying teams are known by halfway through the tournament, the rest this whole format is going to crumble. That's going to be. It's going to become a huge, big joke. That's what's going to be. Despite the fact that India wanted this format to ensure that India won't go out. If India qualifies very, very early, you will see some action towards the end of this tournament. Just mark my words, mate. I don't know, Bilal, what are your thoughts?
Well, Charith, I'm just being a little cynical here, but basically maybe that will benefit Sri Lanka, getting a few wins.
Exactly my point. That's my point.
Maybe that's our best hope. So it may not be bad.
Good to see Bilal.
All right, okay. Yeah. Just say that that we hope that the 4 teams who are going to be qualified, will be known quickly as possible, and we'll have a couple of wins under our belt. That's simple. Super strategy. I can live with it.
Charith, you mentioned India and New Zealand, but with today's performance, South Africa seems that they're going to be 2 games up as well. So they're up there as well with the other 2, and they're playing good cricket.
Yeah, there you go. So you already know 3 teams. So you need only 1 more team to qualify. Then let the fun and games start. Right? Yeah. I'm just saying, it's a strong possibility that can happen. By the time before you get to the midway of the tournament, before you get to the business end, you will know who's in the next round. So then, does it matter? What happens thereafter? I know it's a World Cup, but anything can happen. Anyways, let's see. Just a big thank you to everyone who was watching. Thanks to the guys who have been not the sponsors, I would say, the guys who have been supporting the show all along, everyone, Hatem, Aruna, everyone who has been there, Sanjay, always a pleasure. Let's catch up for another chat quickly and see how it goes, and hope that all goes well for Sri Lanka. And as Hatem says, perhaps Australia is the team to be targeted, and that will come up with a win. All right, guys, catch up with you soon. Take care, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Charith. See you.
All right. Cheers. Bye. Bye.